If you want, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be kind of a recommendation video. I wanted to help you out decide which book to begin with certain authors. So I asked you to list me some you were interested in, and I wrote down a bunch in the cat jar if I had read enough books by them. I feel like I wanted to wait a little longer for some of them, but I still wanted to be as helpful as possible. So here are the books I think you should start with certain authors. So let's start with Stephen King. Okay, that's the perfect example. I have read over 10 books by him. I did do a whole video actually reviewing all of them. If you want to hear about the plot and everything, I'll link that down below. But my favorite by him is not the one I would recommend starting with. I'm pretty sure in that video I mentioned that my favorite one by him is The Long Walk, which I enjoyed except for the ending, but it's not really representative of his usual work. However, you'll hear a lot of people mention It or The Stand, which is definitely more his usual style. However, it's like 1,300 pages to be let down by the ending, which I guess that's representative of his stuff. But I think a good happy medium would be Pet Sematary. It's not as big. You definitely do get the creepy, weird vibes that you get with him. That cat though. But the ending is actually pretty good. So I highly would recommend starting with this one. I was happy with it. I feel like my ratings were overall kind of low with him. I've kind of stopped reading anything by him. But this one I did enjoy, and I do think most people would agree that it's one of his best. So let's pick another one. Oh yes, Becky Chambers. Okay, I was hoping I would pick that one. Probably would have faked it otherwise. I have read 6 of her books, which I think it's everything she's published. I will continue to read everything and anything she publishes because even though it's usually not my style, for some reason, her writing I find so comforting. So my favorite by her is not the one I would recommend starting with. You can obviously, it is To Be Thought Unfortunate because it's a little less wholesome and a little bit more sciencey, I guess, than the other ones. But I adore it. It's the only book I've ever read on this channel within the same year too. So I love this. However, I think most people would enjoy Long Way to Small Angry Planet more. I feel like this one is more wholesome. It has some cute friendships. It's still very character driven. It is a sci-fi, but it's very accessible. It's not what I've been calling pew pew, laser fight kind of sci-fi. It's just there are aliens there, but they're just an excuse to discuss things like gender, sexuality, and I adore it, and I feel like it's super well loved on Booktube too, for a good reason. But it is the first book in a series. There are 4 books. I think the 4th one is coming out or just came out. They're more companion novels. They're not that related, but I still recommend continuing if you enjoyed book 1. I loved it. And she also has this other duology that just came out. The first book is out, and it's more how can I describe this without making it sound weird? But the series is called Monk and Robot, and you're following a monk, a non-binary monk, because all of her books contain LGBTQ+ characters that are just there. It has nothing to do with the story, which I like that kind of representation. And it's in a society where robots one day just got up and left us. They want nothing to do with us. And you're just following this monk trying to figure out the meaning of their life. And it's great. But yes, I do think this one will be the most consistent, the one that most people would enjoy. And I recommend starting with that one. Next, we have Matt Haig. Okay, I was hoping that one was also going to come out because I've raved about him a lot, but I have read 5 of his books, including a nonfiction, and it can be overwhelming. Where do you start? Where do you start? I say The Humans because it's my favorite by him, so why not start with that one? But I feel like it's the most universally liked, or I feel like it will be. This one you're following a alien sent pretty much as a punishment on Earth to kill someone that discovered a math equation that we're not ready for, and it's more following his journey, trying to understand what it is to be human. I adored it. I loved it. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about The Midnight Library by him because it's his newest release, but I feel like the ending can be more hit and miss. I personally really enjoyed it anyway, but I agree that the ending is the weakest point. I made one of my friends read this actually, and she said that it was a depressed Hallmark movie. And I can't stop thinking about that. I kind of agree. So even though I do like this, I think this one would be the best way to start with. If you enjoyed it, then read something else. It's not a bad way to start, but I feel like this one is more book club kind of book than this one. They both kind of are, but still, I would recommend this one first. Next, we have V.E. Schwab. Okay, I actually did not grab the books. Give me a second. I have read 8 of her books. 2 of them written under Victoria Schwab. She does that whenever it's like YA or middle grade. Didn't really care for them, so let's focus on V.E. Schwab. I have read the Shade of Magic trilogy, which I don't think is the best way to start, which I feel like that's the one that we've seen the most on BookTube, well, until recently. We used to see it a lot, and I did like the whole idea. I feel like there's a ton of potential, and I will be reading the companion series that she's planning, but I feel like especially the last book was just, I did not care about what happened to the characters. Like they were inconsistent. I got really annoyed with like Lila by the end. Okay. And I feel like The Invisible Life of Adi Larue will be a lot more hit and miss. Personally, I really love the writing, but I completely understand why some people would hate it. So I think that the best way to start with her is her Villains trilogy. The first book being Vicious, which I made the mistake of letting someone read this. I'm never going to see that book again. So let me show you book 2, which is my favorite. So I guess it kind of works. You are introduced to my favorite villain of all time. First chapter, Marcella. I am on her side. She did nothing wrong. But yes, this series I think will be more consistently loved. You're following these two young men who met in university. They figure out a way to develop superpowers, and instead of becoming superheroes, they become supervillains. And then you have like the timeline of them later on being enemies. You don't really know what happened, but they hate each other. And I loved it. I personally, unpopular opinion, loved book 2 more, but I think a lot of people enjoyed Vicious, and I cannot wait for the third book. Whenever it comes out, I will be devouring it, and I think that's the best way to start. I would love to hear your thoughts, though. Next, we have, Ursula K. Guin. I hesitated because I've technically only read 2 books by her, but I have a couple other ones on my shelves that I'm looking forward to reading. I guess I'm using this as an excuse to get your own recommendation. But I've tried to read the YA fantasy one. I got rid of it, so the squirrel is looking at me through the window. I need to feed him. I felt very intimidated. I had no choice. So yes, that YA fantasy book, I couldn't get into it. I DNF'd it, so whatever. I still wanted to take this opportunity to rave about this book because I've talked about it a little bit every time I have a chance because it's so cool. Novella, it's like 100-something pages, and you're following this man who realized that his dreams start happening in real life, so he goes to see like a psychotherapist or something, and he takes advantage of that because he wants to improve the world, and things happen. I do want to mention though, if English is your second language, you're still struggling, don't do that to yourself. I did it when I started BookTube, and man, did I struggle. But if you want to improve your vocabulary, I guess that's one way of doing it. But yes, I loved it, so I still wanted to read about it, even though I've read like 1.5 books by her. Blake Crouch. Okay. I have read 7 of his books, and I hated his old stuff, so let's pretend these 2 don't exist. However, I think Dark Matter is the best way to start. I feel like it's the one that's going to be the most universally liked. I've talked about it a lot. I've been calling it my dad recommendation. I feel like dads would like this book. My dad did, and I can barely make him read anything, but that one worked. And if you liked it, then go with Recursion. I feel like the second half will be more hit and miss. Personally, I really enjoyed it, so it is what it is. And then, only then, if you love that, try the We Were Pines trilogy, because the twist at the end of the first book will be hit and miss. Personally, I was all in, and I watched a TV show too, and I enjoyed it overall. It's definitely his weakest stuff because, again, it's older stuff, but I'm a sucker for that twist. So, Arthur C. Clarke. Okay, I have a complicated relationship with classic sci-fi. I love the ideas. I do often find that the writing is dry, which is the case with him too. Actually, let me grab some of it. So I have these 2 in the SF Masterwork editions, which are pretty, the yellow thing. I often get questions. That's what these are. I've read 3 by him. There's also 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was like, some parts I loved, some parts I hated, was kind of bored. And then we have Childhood's Hand, which is also one of the weirdest books that I've read, not in a good way. There's like 3 sections. The first one is really good, and after that it just gets too weird for me. I don't understand the hype. So it leaves me with my favorite of the 3, which is Rendezvous with Rama, which is like a first contact with aliens. Like a spaceship goes through our solar system. They send a team to like get on the plane, get on the ship to explore, and it's weird, but like in the like alien feeling alien thing, which I feel like is more a theme that you see in older sci-fi. So it didn't work for me for that. is it a trilogy or a duology? I'm not planning on reading the rest because I've heard they're not great, but I'm satisfied with what I got. So yeah, it's not the most raving review of his stuff, but like I'm feeling so with older sci-fi. There is like a what I've been calling spice, but it's not as bad as other ones, but it's still there. Like I think it's like literally, it's in the first page, first chapter of this one. I don't really feel like looking it up, but I'm really early on. There's like some misogyny, which is just meh, but one more. We have time for one more. Let's do that. Seanan McGuire. Oh my gosh. I don't know how many I've read by her. I'll put it on the screen. I have read a lot of like the first book in series by her, and I realized not for me. Like, is it Day Dawn something? And I really didn't care for this other book by her. For some reason, my brain decided you're not going to remember any of them. I really hated that one. So it leaves me with her Wayward Children series. They are either loosely linked or standalones, but my favorite is this one, which is the fourth one, which can be read as a standalone. If you don't remember, these are like children go to like magical universe, think Narnia, and they come back and they are struggling to, you know, reintegrate in society. So this one is like in the magical universe. I enjoy that one. I still have the issue that it tends to skip any action, but I mean, they're short, so that's kind of what's going to happen. So my favorite one, but I don't think it's the most representative of her stuff, so I would go with the first one. It's my second favorite, and I feel like you kind of need that one to like begin the story. You can't really believe me. With that, I mean that like no one has the same favorite pretty much in this series. There are 6 books that are out. The 7th one I think is coming out in January next year, and I am officially done because it's been so up and down and I can't take it anymore. So yes, you're gonna have to just try them. I feel like you will find your own universe that you love, and you will probably hate some of the ones that I love. It's kind of how it works. It is very inclusive, and I did overall enjoy her ideas, but I did also find that I got frustrated in the first couple ones because we skipped the action, but she did fix that in like book 5, I think. So there's been an improvement if that's also something that you are feeling. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today's video. Definitely leave in a comment any other authors you would like me to do in the future. Like to give you an idea of the ones that I'm hoping to read enough in the future, like Michael Crichton or like N.K. Jemisin, Gillian Flynn. I still need to read Gone Girl, don't judge me. And if personally there are other authors you would like people to let you know which book you should start with, leave a comment. Everyone can help out each other. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.